One of the biggest changes in the history of international banking may be taking place right now. The BRICS countries' establishment of a $500 billion liquidity pool that is fully supported by XRP. As these developing nations come together to establish a new framework for global trade and cross-border transactions, this historic effort represents a daring departure from established financial systems. BRICS wants to change how money moves across continents by utilizing the speed and transparency of blockchain technology. The ramifications of this action extend well beyond the excitement surrounding cryptocurrencies. It is a deliberate attempt to upend the current order and usher in a new age of financial collaboration between some of the fastest growing economies on the planet. The US dollar's decades-long dominance in international trade is in jeopardy due to this deliberate realignment of global power. We need to ask ourselves if this is the end of the dollar as the world's reserve currency, or if it will usher in a new era of competition and creativity in international finance, given the possibility of changing the balance of economic influence toward the East and global South. Let's go over all you need to know about this revolutionary advancement, its driving forces, and its implications for traders, investors, and the world economy at large. First, it's critical to comprehend the identities of the BRICS countries: South Africa, China, India, Russia, and Brazil. For many years, these 5 developing nations have been working together to develop alternatives to financial systems that are dominated by the West. The US dollar and the SWIFT payment network have supported international trade agreements for many years, giving the US significant geopolitical clout. This leverage includes the power to regulate international cash flows and apply penalties. The BRICS countries have worked to create their own autonomous financial systems after realizing the dangers and weaknesses of depending solely on the dollar. The recently formed BRICS liquidity pool is estimated to be worth an incredible $500 billion, making it one of the biggest financial reserves ever gathered by an international coalition, according to insiders and documents that have been leaked. This enormous pool is intended to give member countries stability and liquidity, particularly in uncertain economic times or when international markets are volatile. However, in contrast to conventional reserves, this fund is not financed by gold or US dollars, as one might anticipate from such a large financial endeavor. The BRICS countries have instead opted for a completely different strategy, a daring move toward the future of banking and digital currencies. The pool is powered solely by XRP, Ripple's digital asset, rather than depending on traditional assets. Why XRP? Its distinct technical characteristics and the benefits it provides over fiat money and other cryptocurrencies hold the key to the solution. Compared to traditional banking systems, which can take days to process international payments, XRP transactions settle in 3 to 5 seconds, a speed that is nearly unmatched by most blockchains. Compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum, it is also much more scalable and energy efficient, enabling thousands of transactions per second with no effect on the environment. Furthermore, an increasing number of financial institutions throughout the world have already embraced XRP for cross-border payments, making it the most sensible and progressive option for a high-volume settlement asset in the quickly changing financial environment of today. The adoption of XRP by the BRICS countries is a strategic concession, especially for China. For both domestic and foreign use, China has been creating its own digital currency, the digital yuan. Internal talks, however, indicate that China accepted XRP as a neutral, non-sovereign digital asset in order to preserve BRICS unity. Despite geopolitical disagreements, cooperation is necessary for this partnership. By using XRP, the bloc's collective bargaining strength against Western financial institutions is maintained, as no one country controls the majority of the pool. The basis for intra-BRICS trade settlements will be this liquidity pool. Consider South Africa participating in numerous trade agreements, Brazil supplying goods to China, and Russia selling oil to India. On the XRP ledger, every transaction settles instantly. By completely avoiding SWIFT, this approach gets beyond sanctions and reliance on the US dollar. The rate at which XRP is constantly moving via this network and inside the $500 billion pool has the potential to dramatically boost demand for XRP tokens and drive their price much above prior market projections. But there are those people who are skeptical about such a huge project. Divergent political and economic interests have historically made it difficult for the BRICS countries to agree on significant undertakings. Financial stability and risk management are called into doubt by the notion of investing $500 billion in a single digital asset, particularly one that is prone to volatility. China would probably be hesitant to give up so much power to a privately created digital currency like XRP because of its emphasis on sovereign control. Furthermore, India and Russia each have geopolitical factors that could make complete cooperation more difficult. This story is dismissed by some critics as speculative exaggeration or wishful thinking. They contend that although talks about digital assets are still going on within the BRICS framework, no comprehensive strategy of this size has been decided upon. The $500 billion number is more likely to be an aspirational goal than an immediate reality. However, the discussion of XRP as a settlement asset itself represents a significant change in the way emerging economies view blockchain technology and digital currencies. To be honest, this news is absolutely huge for XRP holders and fans. In the cryptocurrency space, the possibility of sovereign-backed demand at this magnitude is truly unmatched. This degree of institutional acceptance has the potential to significantly lower market volatility, boost liquidity, and promote long-term price growth. It turns XRP from a speculative investment into a vital component of the global financial infrastructure. Furthermore, this action unquestionably supports Ripple's continuous attempts to form alliances with financial institutions and governments around the globe. On a larger scale, the creation of a liquidity pool backed by XRP within BRICS truly represents the start of a multipolar financial world. The US dollar ruled supremely for decades, frequently without opposition. Emerging markets are currently making a concerted effort to develop substitutes that lessen their reliance on trading in dollars. International currency markets, trade regulations, and geopolitical alliances may be reshaped for years to come as a result of this strategic shift. There could be repercussions beyond of the BRICS region. Other nations and regional groupings that are unhappy with Western financial hegemony might do the same. We may see the emergence of several trade zones driven by digital assets, each with a settlement currency specific to local needs. Despite its complexity, this fragmentation eventually results in a more resilient and diversified global financial system. There are still a number of important questions that will influence how global finance and digital assets develop in the future. What obstacles need to be removed before the BRICS liquidity pool can actually operate at scale, and how soon will it be operational? Will comparable structures be adopted by other significant economies such as the ASEAN nations or the European Union, or will they forge their own distinct path in the rapidly changing digital environment? How are Western institutions and the United States going to handle this challenge? Will they try to control these technologies out of existence, compete, or work together? How will regulatory organizations' decisions affect the rate of adoption, and will they support or oppose this move towards decentralized settlement assets like XRP? These are the issues that will shape global finance over the next 10 years, impacting not only policy but also the fundamental framework of global collaboration and trade. To sum up, the $500 billion BRICS XRP liquidity pool is more than just a daring concept. It has the ability to alter how nations interact and determine value, making it a possible game changer in the global financial order. Political and technological obstacles justify pessimism, but it is impossible to overlook the momentum behind digital transformation. The adoption of digital assets by sovereign organizations is clearly on the rise, and further experimentation and innovation in this area are probably in store for the upcoming years. At the vanguard of this movement is XRP, positioned to completely transform how countries conduct business, settle disputes, and use money in a world that is evolving quickly. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below if you think this marks the end of the dollar's hegemony, or if you think the BRICS alliance is still more talk than action. If you're enthusiastic about the direction of international finance, like this video and subscribe for regular updates and professional analysis.